Now, turning to our program, please welcome Margaret Crawford, owner and principal consultant at M. Crawford and Associates Consulting LLC, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Saj. I have the honor and pleasure of introducing Kevin Shafer. Although I know many of you already know Kevin, just by him standing in the antechamber, how many of you came up for a hug? I know many of you have served on boards with him, have been part of groups in the community, or I know that we also have several past commissioners of the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District that are members of our club. Let me tell you a little bit about my friend Kevin Shafer. First of all, just to let you know, what is MMSD, in case you don't know? It's a regional governmental organization. It serves 1.1 million customers in 28 different communities. It really is a water reclamation and a flood management organization. It covers about over 400 square miles in 6 different watersheds. We are blessed that we have a leading wastewater utility right here in the Milwaukee area. It's recognized not only in our nation, but also throughout the world. Part of the reason why it has received this recognition is because of the unique integration of building green infrastructure along with traditional infrastructure. This is done by converting renewable fuels, installing green infrastructure, and also by preserving different floodplains. Kevin's leadership has brought MMSD recognition as the recipient of almost every major award in the industry. He currently serves on the board of the Water Council and is a member of, and this one's a mouthful, the EPA's Animal, Agriculture, and Water Quality Subcommittee of the Farm, Ranch, and Rural Communities Federal Advisory Committee. Now, isn't that a governmental organization? He's also served as the president of the National Association of Clean Water Agencies and the Water Environment Research Foundation. In addition, he was the past co-chair of the Water Research Foundation in the U.S. Water Alliance. Dean Amhouse, who's the president and CEO of the Water Council, noted, and I quote, "MMSD is held up within the waste community both nationally and globally as among the best of the best." And he also cites, Kevin is the one who's the true visionary. Locally, Kevin has provided leadership as a board member of the Great Lakes Protection Fund, Mequon Nature Preserve, River Revitalization Foundation. As many of you know, Rotary had a hand in establishing that, and also Discovery World. He holds a master's degree in civil engineering water resources from the University of Texas and a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Illinois. His leadership is really distinguished by being able to come up with mutually beneficial outcomes. So rather than just like looking at the job as like, this is my job, taking a careful look of who are the stakeholders that are going to be served, and there are so many of them in so many different groups, but really has established a track record of being able to get those beneficial outcomes while he also is earning their respect and building relationships. We're blessed to have his leadership and his commitment to our Milwaukee community. Now let's just hear some more about his plans for the future of MMSD. Join me in welcoming him.
I told her to keep it short. That was short.
Because there's so many more accolades I could have brought in.
No. This room is full of many friends. It's just amazing the number of people that I've got to know over the last 25 years. Yeah, 25 years doing this. Actually 27 years at the district. So I'm going to go through kind of the vision for the district. I'm living the dream, as if my friend Preston Cole always says, I'm living the dream. But I've had that dream started with many nightmares. George and others have seen those nightmares close up front. So I decided at the beginning I had to set a new path for the district. I had to move us from a district or a government entity that no one knew, no one cared about, no one wanted to know, to a district that people wanted to be a part of. And to do that, you really have to become more visible. You have to be out there talking to people about what you're doing. And you have to share that vision because all of us want clean water. All of us here want to protect Lake Michigan. So how do we do that as a unit, as a watershed? And how do we do that and build up people from the bottom and bring everyone equal in trying to make it a better place? I just love this picture. It's the best picture of Milwaukee. You got a wastewater treatment plant in the forefront. Isn't that pretty? And then the city in the background with the Home Bridge. It's just an amazing shot. And although we've done a lot in the last 20-something years, actually the last 100 years, we've got a lot to do still. We have droughts that we have to deal with. We've seen dry periods even here in the Wisconsin area. We have flooding. That middle picture is the Kinnickinnick River flooding. We're trying to address that now. And we have water quality issues that we all face every day, and actually we all cause. We're all a part of that problem. So we need to try to address that as a group. So in 2009, when I was thinking about leaving the district, I wrote a vision. The left side of my brain is the integrated watershed management side of my brain. We're going to have zero overflow, zero homes in the 100-year floodplain. We're going to use green infrastructure to capture water where it falls, and we're going to try to establish green buffers along the waterways. Right side of my brain in 2009, I said, we're already seeing climate change. We're seeing it a lot more now. So we're going to be mitigating and adapting as much as we can as a utility. So we're going to go to 100% renewable energy. We're going to be 80% of that energy self-produced at the plants themselves. And we're going to use programs to try to sequester carbon. Just this morning at 9 o'clock, I had a meeting where we're going to put in new blowers. I know this is real technical, new blowers at Jones Island. And we had different options to look at. And we're going to install new blowers that will use 26% less energy than the ones that are operating today. And those blowers make up about a third of the power use that we use at the district. So huge improvement just with one project. But to do all these things, we can't just look within the MMSD sewer service area, which is that blue box that you see there. We have to look at watersheds. Milwaukee, Kinnickinnick, Menominee, Root River, all these watersheds are within the sewer service area. And we have to address them in different steps. We have to make improvements to the water reclamation facilities. I'm going to show you pictures of all these projects as we move forward and active projects that are going on right now. But you never see the work at the water reclamation facilities. They're inside a fence or a building and you never know what's going on. Flood management, green infrastructure, these are visible, these are out there. And in the upper headwaters, we're working on programs called green seams, working soils, and a reforestation wetland program. And I'll talk about the Milwaukee Estuary project, which this is an EPA project that we're building the largest structural piece of. And if you drive over the Home Bridge, you'll probably have seen the construction of a dredged material management facility. So we're going to go into detail on all of these projects, but the key is it's all integrated. What happens in one community impacts another community. What happens upstream impacts downstream, downstream upstream. And we have to use water as a uniter moving forward. So here's the water reclamation facilities. Jones Island, in June of this year, will be operating 100 years. It started in 1925. Every day, 24 hours a day, treating wastewater. You heard about Guatemala and some of the concerns that they're having with health issues because of polluted water. That was here 120 years ago. So we're very fortunate to have Jones Island operating with that whole time period. The other plant that we have is in Oak Creek. That's the South Shore Water Reclamation Facility. On a normal day, these treatment plants are treating around 65 million gallons a day. So normal day, we're treating about 130 million gallons a day of wastewater. On a wet day, Jones Island goes up to 390 million gallons a day, so 65 to 390. South Shore goes from 60 to 300. So when it's raining really hard and everyone's thinking of Kevin's face in front of a computer screen managing the flow, we're treating as much as we can at the treatment plants. And it's the normal treatment process for 90% of the country. One of the things that's not normal, since 1926, we've been producing a fertilizer out of our biosolids. So We used to call biosolids sludge. That's not a real happy thing to talk about after lunch. But we take biosolids, we dewater them, we dry them, we heat them to a very high temperature. You can go to Lowe's, Menards, Ace Hardware, anywhere in the country, and you can buy Milorganite, Milwaukee Organic Nitrogen. We earn about $11 to $12 million a year on the sale of our biosolids. So it's not just good for the environment, it's very good for the environment. It's good for the economy as well. 1926. I was not here, I did not think of that one. The deep tunnel. When I started in my nightmares at the beginning, the deep tunnel was much maligned. It was thought of as being a problem as opposed to a cure. Picture on the left is the original deep tunnel. It went online in August 1993. Since I've been here, we've added 2 segments to that tunnel, the Northwest Side Relief Sewer Tunnel and the 27th Street Tunnel. Active, huge projects that are really helping us today. And here's what they've done. So we're required by the EPA to capture or clean 85% or greater of all the water that comes to our system. So we have to be better than 85%. In my world, that's a B, maybe a C. We're at 98.6. In my world, that's an A. Even if my kids came home with 98.6, I'd be saying, good job. You know, these numbers really haven't changed that much over the years because we're seeing more rainfall now than we saw 25 years ago. But 25 years ago, the impression was totally different. So we're at 98.6. Our goal is to be at 100%. We're going to do that with green infrastructure. We're going to do that with improvements to the treatment process. And we're going to try to stay ahead of the changing climate. It's kind of like running up a hill where the hill keeps falling on you. So talking about some of the projects, Green Seams is an effort we started in 2002. Actually, it started in 2000. I started in 2002 as the executive director. And we are purchasing property along the waterways, property that has been flooded, property that should not be developed, because if it gets concrete or asphalt placed on it, that's going to force water downstream, flooding people out downstream. We have 5,515 acres purchased through the end of last year, and we estimate that that land captures about 3.1 billion gallons of water in the upper watershed. That's 3.1 billion gallons that is not coming downstream. And the fine property is one that we closed on last year. So these are all active projects. And it's great to have that property hold back the water, but it's also a great way to train the future workforce on how to manage land. And you can see that with that bottom picture. Working soils. We're the dairy state. We need to work with agriculture, and a majority of the Milwaukee watershed is agriculture. So we partnered with the USDA and the NRCS, and we are working with farmers. We're buying easements for their farms, helping them manage the runoff and the pollutants from their farms better. And to date, we've got almost 1,700 acres of land in the Working Soils Program, 840 million gallons of capture. And in October, USDA gave us $19.8 million grant, not a loan, a grant for this program. They've recognized the Milwaukee MMSD Working Soils Program as a national lead. And you might have heard the Secretary of the USDA on the radio probably around the end of October. 2020, I had this idea where I have a bucket list before I leave. And I said, we need to reforest the watershed. So what we're doing is planting 6 million trees, restoring 4,000 acres of wetlands, because that will capture water that will not fall downstream. So here's the stuff you never see. This is Jones Island, just a stone's throw to the south. We are actively replacing equipment because it's getting old. Some of it's been in place for 20, 30 years. These are screw pumps that take water from a lower elevation to an upper elevation. Huge project. The size of that screw you see sitting on the back of a flatbed truck. That's how big these things are. So we have projects like this throughout the plants. When we make Milorganite, we have to dewater that Milorganite. So these are belt filter presses that dewater that material before we put it in the dryers to make Milorganite. Huge number of jobs within the water reclamation facilities that people don't even see, unless you're a contractor, and then you see it. South Shore, we've got a $73 million project ongoing right now to replace the aeration system in the plant. So this is like trying to make a repair on a jet when you're flying the jet. How do you do that and keep the plant running and make the improvements at the same time? We have to take certain parts of the plant out. We have people working there through the year. It's a wonderful project. And how many people knew that Honeywood Creek flows underneath State Fair Park? Oh, there's some names. Okay, Chris knew. Okay. I think that picture was taken the year I was born, the bottom left. But we've noticed over the last year or so some sinkholes occurring in the infield area of the track. So what we're doing this year and next year is we're going in and putting a structural liner on the inside of those culverts, and that'll add about 20 years of life. Northwest side Milwaukee's got some huge projects going on. We call this the NS12 project because NS12 is one of our drop shafts for the tunnel. We're actually it's called pipe jacking. We lower those huge sections of pipe down into that white machine that you see there. Take the machine, then pushes the pipe forward. It jacks that pipe through the ground. That's about a half mile of pipe jacking that we're doing, and that's, again, active construction. Anyone who drives through this area, I apologize for the traffic issues. And here's Roosevelt Road, which is, again, in that same area. This is a tunnel project where you see the machine on the lower left. That's a tunnel boring machine, so it turns. It eats away the rock. We take the rock out. You're basically building a sewer by drilling a hole through the rock. Green infrastructure I talked about. Adding, this was something we've added since 2002. One of the programs that we have is the Green Schools program. MPS and suburban schools, we are investing in removing asphalt and concrete from play areas and parking lots so that it can be more natural. St. Francis High School, we got a bioswale that collects runoff from a parking lot. In that lower picture, Morse Middle School, that used to be a parking lot. That used to be all asphalt. Now it's porous asphalt and green space for our kids to play in. I mean, you can't get better than that. You're managing stormwater, improving water quality, and improving the future. And then I was thinking, boy, we got a lot of highways that are elevated. They're really great for capturing water, but that water comes down a pipe, that pipe sends it to the river, or that pipe sends it into a sewer, full of pollution or way too much water too fast. So we started the Green Highways program at DOT, Wisconsin DOT, and in these cases, the city of Milwaukee have been phenomenal partners. We work with the DOT to build these. Once we build them, the city maintains them. The Beecher Underpass was just completed last summer, and it's managing water off the interstates, reducing all those little pieces of rubber off our tires and all that other pollution that comes from our cars, reducing that load to the rivers. And as I was walking in here today, I wish I'd had a picture. The parking lot here, if you want to see green infrastructure, there's porous pavers in the parking lot today. There's also bioswales out there. I'd forgotten that we did this project also. So you'll see it everywhere, but you don't even think about it really. And that's the goal. So here's the big one that just came about in the last few years. John Gerda says that this effort is fixing the sins of our fathers. The upper left picture is the Clutch Dam in Glendale. So this is a dam that's been there for, I don't know, 100 years or so. It blocks the passage of fish upstream. So this is 100% paid for by the federal government. We were the instrument they used to build it. So we contracted design, we contracted construction. It was completed a year ago in December. And now you see that little river going around the dam. That's a fish passage, and we've got people upstream reporting huge fish that they never saw in the Milwaukee River that are going through the fish passage. What's that have to do with MMSD? Well, it's a better water quality for everyone, better habitat, and we didn't pay for it. The feds paid for it. The other big project are the two that you see. If you're driving over the Home Bridge, we call it the Dredge Material Management Facility, DMMF, great acronym. What we have here is EPA has identified about 43 areas around the Great Lakes that are heavily polluted. They identified the Milwaukee estuary as one of those 43. So MMSD is building a $120 million storage facility. You can see on that bottom left picture, we've got one wall that's built, and then you can see kind of a second wall started coming through. Michael's Construction is doing this work for us. And it's going to be a double-walled storage facility. Between those walls will be a very impermeable material placed in it. And once we get that completed, the EPA is going to come in and dredge the inner harbor area, remove all those contaminated sediments, place them within this huge bathtub that we're building. And then they're going to sit there for like 20 years because it's going to be a very wet material. Once that dries out, it could be a park on the lakefront. It could be more Port of Milwaukee land. Our kids in the future will decide what it is. But with the $120 million that we're paying for this facility, EPA is going to come in with another $300 million of extra work. So this is that local match to the feds. This one almost didn't happen, but it did. We got it there. And I don't know, has anyone seen it driving over the home? Yeah. If you look off to the left or towards the lake, you'll see it. We also do flood management. This is the Menominee River. This is on the west side of Milwaukee near Wauwatosa. We are redoing the river right now. It's a flood funnel, so it causes flooding upstream. Working to remove the concrete in their area, naturalize it, make it more of a green corridor going through. And this is the project I'll ask for help with. This is the 30th Street Corridor project. So this is the Century City neighborhood. And we've built on that upper right picture, you see the East Basin and the West and the South Basin. We've built those already. We're in design now on the West Basin, which is that green area to the bottom. And this is in one of the lowest income, most degraded environmental areas in the city. And what we're doing is we're going to build, I think it's a 45-acre basin in that area. So it's going to be this huge green space. But MMSD can only build the green space. We do not have the jurisdiction to build playgrounds, parking lots, or playgrounds, basketball courts, all the other things that are circled in red there. So if anyone wants to contribute to a playground, we're looking for supporters, private, philanthropic, whatever. Otherwise, it'll be just a big green space that sits in the middle of the corridor. And we need to have this be an amenity to the region. We need to bring people to it to help them. So we already recover water, we store it, and then we drink it again. We are drinking this water again, if you don't know that. We already recover biosolids. We're making fertilizer out of it and selling $11 million throughout the country every year. But can we also tap the heat of that wastewater and use that to produce energy? Can we do something with all the meds that people have in their bodies that go through the system that are going to the lakes? This is the technology that we're looking at, trying to be more precise on resource recovery. And last spring, my commissioner, and one of my commissioners is here, maybe more, passed an energy plan. And this is the South Shore plant. We're going to be putting massive solar fields in at South Shore and at Jones Island. And I just pointed this out because we're going to do a 1 megawatt field where that number 2 yellow area is, where the arrows go to. That's under design right now, start construction towards the end of this year. So that'll take 1 megawatt of power from the solar source, and we will not be using fossil fuel energy. Everyone knows who this is? One of the greatest people. It's
not a legacy we asked for. It's not a problem we caused, but here it is anyway. And with that problem comes a great opportunity. Ours can be the first generation in Milwaukee's history to leave our rivers in better shape than we found them, for all the generations still to come.
Nope. Thank you. So this is the dream that I dreamed 20-something years ago to try to get us to this point. Again, many nightmares in the middle of all that sleeping, but we're here, and I think we've done a great job, and it's due to all of you. So if there's questions, I'll be happy to take some.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Kevin, and I will pass the microphone on, but I just really want to acknowledge one more time all of the work you've done here for decades. We know that you've done a tremendous amount to improve our environment and our water, but you've also brought people together and really helped us be a better community. So thank you.
Kevin, thanks for the presentation and cataloging all the various projects that are going on all at the same time since you've been on the watch. In the risk of adding more work, so much of what you do is related to climate concerns. You're aware, as people in the room are, that this is close to the Great Lakes, one of the potential, I don't think we use the term haven anymore, but a place people might choose to go when where they live is unlivable. Does that thinking factor in any way into your longer range planning at MMSD?
Yeah, I've always described myself as kind of the custodian for the waterways, trying to make the region cleaner, build the image so that it does become a haven for maybe folks that want to leave forest fires in California or drought in the Southeast. You really have to take that overall picture, though. You can't just look at wastewater. You have to look at the impacts on the neighborhoods. And as Mary said, you need to bring people together. So I do think we will become a climate haven, and maybe sooner than I think. But my job is just to make the waterways and the region as clean as possible to get us to that point.
Thanks for everything you've done for the city and the area. I have a Honey Creek story you haven't heard. My 91-year-old cousin crawled through the sewer pipe of the intermittent stream when he was a kid and popped up on the 50-yard line of the Green Bay Packers when they were playing there. He tells the story in his book. We talked beforehand about the consequence of mitigation and climate change and the impact of a pivotal event, California fires. Do you have any thoughts of Milwaukee as a showroom, a classroom, and a meeting point for environmental mitigation with lessons that can be applied elsewhere through reinsurance and other forms of communication?
Yeah, no, I think we've got all of the makings of a great classroom for water. We've got the School of Freshwater Sciences at UWM, we've got the DNR, we've got the city's work with their sustainability efforts. And I do think that insurance is going to play a bigger role as we move forward. We're already seeing insurance companies move out of some areas of the country due to changing climate and high costs. As we talked about earlier, it gets back to money. How do you find the funding for this? So we've had a few preliminary conversations with some insurance companies and talking about them paying for the stuff upstream that might reduce flooding potential downstream. It's just talk right now, but I think we'll get to that point. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you for all of your work. As I looked at the greatest hits, I wanted to give you some time to reflect on the KK River project, which is an amazing project and was a very, very bold project. Could you reflect on lessons learned and how have those been incorporated into the new projects like Menominee?
Yeah. Well, the Kinnickinnic River is still an ongoing project. We're still building that, as you know. If you have not seen Pulaski Park, I don't know if anyone's here from the county, but Pulaski Park is beautiful. It's a great partnership. I tell people that that's infrastructure of the future. It's flood management, it's naturalization, it's habitat, it's a recreational area for our youth. That's what we need to do throughout the watersheds. Right now we're in design on Jackson Park, which is upstream of Pulaski, and we'll be working on that next. There's a public meeting in December. That will start construction probably second half of next year. So that Jackson will become the new Pulaski. And then after that is Wilson Park. So all of those projects are on the Kinnickinnic River. The Menominee River was really the one that we learned, actually Lincoln Creek was really the one that we learned a lot of this on. Don't try to build something that you don't get public input on. So lessons learned, go out to the public. I mean, they may be upset with you at certain times, but you have to talk to the public, because if you want the project to be successful long-term, you need them to be participating early so that they can watch out after it later. Get their input. The 30th Street Corridor Basin, all those playgrounds and everything, that came from the public. That came from all of their input. So you really need to get public input. You need to bring people together. Water's a uniter. Flooding is an issue that brings people together. So city, county, DNR, all of them came together on these projects. And neighborhood groups. And you have to work with neighborhood groups, or we talked to Nearby Nature as a group on the Lincoln Creek. Work with groups like that that can help you, because they have a level of trust with the neighborhoods that we may not have. So you try to help everyone. There's a good universal kind of silly statement, but yeah, you try to help everyone.
Hi, Kevin. Beth Heller. I am fascinated or interested in the challenges that we have around medications that you mentioned and microplastics, some of those trickier things to remove from the water. Could you share any innovations or new approaches that you're seeing that may be possibilities for us here in this area?
I don't know that there are innovations. Again, we are so fortunate to have the School of Freshwater Sciences, UWM. Dr. Rebecca Clapper has done a lot of work on pharmaceuticals. I don't know if everyone, but I take 2 pills every day. Most people take a pill a day. You think that that just ends with your body, but most of that washes through your system and goes into the sewer system. And then it ends up at our treatment plants, which were not designed to remove medication. So I don't know of any technology there, but can we keep extra meds out of the system? I live in Fox Point. I can take unused meds to my police department and they dispose of them. I go to my mom's house in Central Illinois. She has a whole slew of meds. I take those that she doesn't use and bring them up here and get rid of them. So I think there's just common sense things to do. As far as microplastics, we have to recycle. We have to get off of the single-use plastics as much as possible. I didn't show the picture of the river skimmer that we have. It's pulling bottles and everything else out of the rivers every year. It would be nice one year to have it do a whole year and not pick up anything. I mean, that would be a cool goal. So I think there's just personal steps that we can take. I don't know that there's a technology, but the school is helping us find that. Sorry, that's not a very good answer. Yes.
Thanks. I was going to ask a question also about the meds and getting that stuff out, because I know that's a problem.
Yeah.
And the other piece is getting rid of all the, I guess you'd say, the concrete channels filtering the water out. Are we going to kind of get to that point in the Milwaukee area that we don't have all those anymore? Because I know those just cause a problem. You look at in Wauwatosa, from a kid, we used to play in those culverts and that. I don't even know what we ingested into our body at that point, but when you look near the parks and that, it looks so much better and seems so much better with the flood mitigation. So are we going to get rid of the rest of those?
That's the goal. We're working on it right now in the Kinnickinnic River. If you remember, a year and a half ago, we had 3 people die in the summer on the Kinnickinnic River on the concrete line channel. The water hits that concrete and it just flows very fast. It's like shooting water out of a gun, one of those squirt gun things that you have. It just shoots through that concrete liner, and we had 3 people get in that water and they were washed downstream through a culvert and on down. We have to get the concrete lining out of the system. That's part of our flood management efforts on the Kinnickinnic River, and it will be done. It just needs time and money. Angie.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for coming. I know you mentioned the moment in 2008, not a moment, probably a week, where you had to define whether or not you're going to stick around MMSD with your dreams. And I wonder if when the next reiteration of that would be, or iteration of that would be, and if there might be any chance that there could be some kind of a provision, as they do in Germany, to have every single drop stay on the property on which it falls. I know that there's a 5-acre limit for commercial and larger, but if there's any hope of going smaller.
Yeah. Well, that's the point of green infrastructure, is trying to keep that water where it falls, that every drop counts, and keep it at this point where it hits the land surface. A Vision 2050 2.0, or whatever you want to call it, I've actually got a series of Post-its on my desk where I've thought about things like that, but you know, I'm not going to be here that long. And I'm thinking, why do that when my successor needs whoever that is, whenever that is, and I don't know when that is, but it will be before 2035 and it will be before 2050. You know, maybe that person needs to have some of that voice, but maybe there's a vision 3.0 that that person could have. So I do think we already have a stormwater rule that requires runoff to be captured up to a half inch, I think it's half inch of rainfall. That's one of the things we did in 2002 at the district through the region, but we don't have a zero runoff. Hi.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for being here. I'm here from Milwaukee Public Schools and got to be there for the Morse project for the ribbon cutting. And
Aren't those cool?
amazing. Like, I just cannot get over what a change it is. So what's next for those kinds of projects? I know a lot of them were funded by COVID recovery funds and things like that. What can we do to keep that moving forward? Because I think it's life-changing work for both the city and our kids.
For sure. Well, as long as my commission keeps approving it, we'll keep funding it. So we are funding those. We're doing 4 schools a year in MPS. I want to say we've done 20 or so far. There's more to do. And so we'll keep funding that work if we can. And we're working in the suburban schools as well, trying to do 2 to 3 a year also. So it's continuing. There will be impact on federal funding, I'm sure. So we need to try to either find other sources of funding or just be more efficient with what we have, which we're already very efficient with it. But it's going to be a problem, and we need to just keep going, just keep the train moving. Thank you. And I hope you like the projects. Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody here who haven't had issues of workforce wars and peace in the workforce. You walked into a sewer war.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly. Yeah. Do you have any, how did you solve this and get into, do you have lessons for us?
How did I solve sewer wars? I did.
Kevin, before that, I would say maybe not everyone knows what that is because it was a couple decades ago. So maybe you should give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so sewer wars, 1972, the Clean Water Act passed at the federal level. And when that passed, my home state of Illinois sued the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin over overflows that were occurring into the waterways. At that time, we had 50 to 60 per year on average going into the waterways. I tell folks that that was that was the best lawsuit we could have ever had filed against us because it forced us to do things that we would not have done if we had not had that. Sewer wars started, so we started making these improvements to the system under EPA's mandate, and we started looking at trying to do a deep tunnel. And sewer wars was a debate, battle, argument, legal discussion about whether the suburbs should pay for the tunnel versus the city paying for it. It eventually was settled, I want to say in around 1996. And the court said that it's a regional system, so the water flows downhill, so the tunnel should be paid for by all. There's a few caveats to the county, communities outside the county, but that was sewer wars. That ended-ish in 96, 97. I started in October 98, and I was pretty happy. I'm at the district. I love Milwaukee. This is great. Bam. Start getting in the paper every day, getting phone calls at 5 o'clock on a Friday from reporters, and not a fun time. You just have to stay on message. You have to keep saying what you're doing, why you're doing it. If you screw up, you screw up. And if someone says something bad about you, you don't hit back. You just say, we'll do better. So I don't know that it didn't solve sewer wars. There's still folks that probably hate MMSD, but it sure makes it more personal. And I think that's part of it too. You know, it wasn't this big, bad, ugly government that was doing this crap to them. It was, oh, there's Kevin. What's Kevin doing? And so it was tough.
Thank you. Just, this is not so much a question as a thank you to you. Lakeshore State Park would not be there without that deep tunnel project, because the material from the deep tunnel created this beautiful park on the lake. So I just wanted to let everybody know, because not everyone knows that story.
So we need to tell that story better. You're prompting me, aren't you? So Lakeshore State Park, that rock came from the deep tunnel when we bore that tunnel. And that was the way we disposed of it, was to create that island, which became Lakeshore State Park. Now we have an opportunity to build a nature center, visitor center on Lakeshore State Park with the DNR and others. I think MMSD will be part of that in some fashion moving forward. But to have a display or a historic room that talks about how the tunnel was built, what the rock was used for, some of the other things that we're doing, I think really would go a long way with helping people understand better what we have here.
Well, Saj is coming up here. I'll just say that I know you've also played a role in the Beeline Park, which is, the most recent investment that Rotary's chosen to make in the community. I saw a picture of Kumba Juice patio out there with the pavers, and I know that you have given a grant for 250 trees to be planted along the park, and I'm sure you're involved in many other ways as well.
Yeah, no, that's part of the reforestation program, is to plant those trees. One of my commissioners, Julia Taylor, is founder of that.
Yeah, she likes that park.
Oh yeah. And she's a great commissioner. So it's just kind of one of those passion projects that's going to do so much good for the region that you just need to bring people together on it.
Thank you, Kevin.
So thank you.